Hi, Chef Shane here, and I want to talk about sauteing and put it in terms of chili. A saute is almost always the same. We get a hot pan, then we add the oil, and then we add whatever it is we're going to saute. In this case, it's going to be onions, garlic, followed by meat. Then after a certain point of time, we're going to deglaze it, which means to add some liquid, which will like pull off pull off the chunks from the bottom. Most normally done at holiday turkey when you're making gravy. So let's take a look at this process and bon appetit. Here we go. Well, I've got a hot burner here and I've got everything, my mise en place ready to go. And I'm just going to keep filming for about 5 minutes, so you can hit the road if you want. Thank you.
Yeah.
Got a hot burner, I've got a hot pan, and I've got some vegetable oil here. I'm using vegetable oil because it can take a hot temperature. Yep, it's immediately hot. I'm going to put in my onions. And hear it sizzle. If it's not sizzling, it's probably not hot enough. I put in my onions and I put some garlic. Now the garlic's right on top because I don't really want the garlic to start browning right away. So I've got a hot pan. I put in some oil. Then I put in my whatever I'm going to saute. In this case, it's onions and garlic, soon to be ground beef. And in this case, once the onions and garlic get translucent, I will proceed with the ground beef. And in fact, here's what it looks like. So that's cooking. Here's what a translucent onions and garlic mixture looks like. So at that point, I would add the ground beef. So let me go ahead and add some ground beef here. So once it's cooked translucent, I'll add my ground beef, and here it is, going in, sauteing. It's still sizzling. No matter what your chili recipe is, you should proceed in exactly this manner. It's just the way that you can capture the highest amount of flavor. All right, so I sauteed my onions and garlic. When they became translucent or see-through, then I added my ground beef. Notice I'm chopping it up a little bit. So this is going to cook until brown. And once it gets brown, it's going to look like this. So here's my onions, garlic, and ground beef cooked until it's brown. I'm going to keep cooking the other stuff here. So once it's browned, now I can go to the stage of deglazing. But in chili, before I deglaze, I would always add the spices. In this case, I'm going to use a commercial chili powder. It's a classic technique. It just kind of enlivens the spice taste. Cumin is the most classic example of this. So I'll add some chili powder, and I would add salt and pepper, but I want to control the salt a little more specifically, so I'll add that at the end of my recipe. All right, so that's the browned the browned meat and the onions, and you can see over here it's still cooking. And this is what it looked like at the start. It hasn't browned yet. At this stage, I can see at the bottom of my pan, I'm getting some beautiful browning right here. This is called fond, F-O-N-D, and fond is really where the flavor comes from. So once it's kind of cooked and I see nice fond, before it burns, I'm going to deglaze, which means to add liquid. With chili, often you add diced tomatoes, beans, and the liquid within the beans, and some sort of broth. And today I'm going to go ahead and add the broth. Right now it's a beef broth. Hopefully it might sizzle. We'll see what happens. Yeah, there it is. We go for a full sizzle there. There it is. So now I could add the tomatoes and all my other chili ingredients. And then I would simmer it. Now remember, simmering is boiling, but at a low rate. Boiling is big bubbles. A simmer is small bubbles. So I would simmer my chili until it all cooks together. So just recapping, I sauteed in a hot pan. I added my onions and garlic. When that got translucent, I added my ground beef, and I continued sauteing it a little bit. And once it was all sauteed, you can see that this is still not quite sauteed. Once it's all browned, I would deglaze it with a liquid. But in terms of chili, I would always add my spices before the deglazing. And once it's deglazed, I can add all the rest of my ingredients. In this case, might be beans, could be tomatoes, could be chili peppers. Heck, it could be sour cream, cheese, chocolate, whatever you want. This is the way a sauteed chili process goes. No matter what your recipe is, this is the way to make chili. So, hey, bon appetit. I hope it all works out well for you. Oh, great. Oh, great. Should take a photograph.